note stock though. HackMD.
It might be 2. I don't know. Anyhow,
No.
welcome to Osquery office hours, everyone. It is May here in Boston. It's a slightly chilly spring day. I hope the weather is nice wherever you all are. Welcome to Osquery office hours. First section is announcements. The one announcement I have is 517 went to stable. I think that was after the last meeting, or maybe before it. I don't remember. 517 is stable, so go team. Anyone have other announcements? Okay. Next section is an open section for questions, issues, PRs, anything people want to discuss that they did not think merited a full agenda item. And it looks like someone wrote down a PR here. So
yeah, I just have a PR that hopefully someone could take a look at. Stefano, if you have time, or someone else. If not, it's pretty small, but Stefano already looked at it, so it might be easiest to do that.
Yeah, I was looking at it again now. Sorry, I didn't have time earlier. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Probably don't really need to say anything else about it while we're here.
Okay. Anyone else want to flag anything? Okay, I guess, I could announce it, maybe. Okta is now starting to ship Osquery. I know about this mostly through their public announcements. Their documentation is something. So that's out there now in early alpha, early access. Okay. Agenda items. I put this down on our agenda. Someone filed a thing about the counter being incorrectly reset on when events get sort of shuffled around. Yeah, you found it, Zach. So someone filed this issue, which felt pretty well formed to me and had some suggested code to fix. So if someone was excited to look at it, this might be a pretty easy thing to start and fix. I don't know if anyone had any feelings or opinions there. Okay, well, it can linger.
Haven't had a look yet.
Too distracted by Okta?
I'm looking now though.
Okta's docs are something. They link to some weird blog post from years ago that I don't recognize.
Huh. All the very well documented issue. Thank you, Skirpad7. This person deserves Supreet deserves a gold star for this bug report. I'm not going to promise to take it on right now though, but I'll read it more thoroughly and see if the fix looks easy enough that I could grab it.
Okay, cool. Next item on our agenda is that Glog is being retired. Stefano,
Yep.
Is this one of yours or Zach's?
I noticed this. So Glog's being retired. It's pretty feature complete and stable. It almost seems like it doesn't matter really, but then do we want to have dependencies that are retired like that in case any vulnerabilities come up that won't be addressed or that kind of thing? There is this API compatible community fork that they link, nglog, which so far doesn't have that many folks working on it, but they are already merging fixes for glog related stuff.
Is the other one they mentioned in here, absel logging, that is the API that much different?
Yeah, that is a very different library and an API.
Darn.
That would take a lot of effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the things that are like low to medium effort are probably like do nothing or move to nglog.
Not that this is good, but I'm also not sure when it was the last time we updated Google Log itself, because I don't think so. Like we are currently mostly updating libraries if they have CVEs open, and I don't think Google Log basically generates any. Not that it can't have issues, but yeah, still.
If glog says they're going to archive the repo, so it'll still be readable, but I suspect
Yeah.
we're going to start hearing noise about that from things that care. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine that like Black Duck won't start babbling to us about that.
Mostly the annoying part is that there is slightly complex logic. We have recursive logging, and there is some threading mutex, complicated logic to ensure that we don't deadlock ourselves while logging our nested log message. So yeah. And
can we have simpler logic?
I would have to look into it again. I mean, I would think that you could try to delay, like simply enqueue those log messages and delay the printing. I think the reason was so that they are printed in order, in the order they are originally logged. But yeah, I don't recall all the details.
Slightly tangential, but does it also mean that eventually Google Flags library would also kind of go by the wayside? Absil seems to be their Boost equivalent, which has like hash and numerics and logs and everything.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a Google thing. It's probably going to fall off someday.
I mean, gflags hasn't had a release since 2018, although there are commits more recent than that.
Suspect if they deprecate gflag, we'll see another community fork for it. Just like we do for glog, but
How do we feel about moving to a community fork with sort of like unknown maintainers?
Mixed. But it's a little hard for me to tell. Like, it's unmaintained, which we'll probably start seeing whining about. New maintainers, but in public, so it's probably getting scanned, or do a bunch of work ourselves. So I don't know. All bad options.
Certainly none of them are that appealing.
Yeah. Maybe we do nothing until people start bothering us about it, and then we reevaluate. But I don't know.
It seems like okay with me. One thing that comes to mind for me, this is a little tangential, but one thing that comes to mind is is actually a feature or a functionality that I think would be useful, which is slightly broken in the current release of glog and has been fixed supposedly and in nglog, which is glog rotates or creates new log files, but it doesn't actually have any rotation functionality. So even though we have rotation for Osquery result logs, we don't have actually any rotation for Osquery status logs. They just sit there on the file system growing indefinitely. And there's a feature in glog that claims to do this, but it doesn't work with the way that we're writing the logs or something. Like it only works if you're writing all the logs into one file and not separate by log levels. And someone's fixed that in nglog.
How did we implement rotation for the result logs?
Something custom that that Teddy built.
I live in a Go world, not a C world, so it's a little bit naive, but can we just apply the custom thing to glog?
Well, I don't think so because glog has its own like file IO.
Okay, we can't just pass it a file handle or a stream or something. It wants.
No, I think it's kind of got its own whole subsystem for like splitting logs into different files based on log level and time and that kind of stuff. Whereas we're using just like this sort of custom logger implementation for the Osquery results log.
Yeah, that's what I mean by live in Go, right? Where you could be like, I don't know, it's an IO writer, whatever.
Yeah.
So okay, no bummer. I mean, I agree. That sounds nice. How?
That also might be like if I'm motivated enough to get that in there, maybe I could apply that patch to the current version of glog that we have if we're not ready to move to nglog.
I mean, I feel like if you're that motivated, you could probably just evaluate nglog and declare it good enough.
Yes, it doesn't look like there's that significant changes, at least for now. Like I don't think it would be unreasonable to manually review every commit that's been added to nglog since glog. Like I'd be fine to do that.
I mean, if we do that, and then I kind of don't know. Like, I feel like we should probably consider evaluating every dependency update whenever we do a dependency update. It's a lot of work, so we don't.
Yeah.
But I mean, is this really any different?
It's my concern would be like a lot of our dependencies are like very widely used and therefore subject to more scrutiny. And there's, I think, just a question of like this new fork of glog, how many people are using it, how many people are scrutinizing it, and who even maintains it. But yes, I agree that ideally a trusted person would review every bit of dependency changes. And this is a problem for any software project out there, certainly.
I feel like we also run into stuff where, like, well, some of the things that we're using are pretty well known. A lot of them are really big, and that makes them, pretty big targets too. So
yeah.
I'm gonna let you, like, Zach, if you've got time, you do something reasonable.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have other thoughts?
Appsil does look nice, but I think that would be a huge effort to kind of integrate it. I've been just reading the docs and their GitHub, but yeah.
I mean, if we were going to go through a lot of work like porting to Appsil, I would instead ask if there's anything closer to stock C that we should be using, or stock C++ or some boost library. Like, can we get ourselves out of the dependency hole if we're willing to expend the effort of rewriting?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to extend the effort of rewriting, I would say we should evaluate the options.
It's a big if.
Yeah. Okay. I think thanks everyone for the input. I'm not about to do anything today, but I'll let you know. I'll post something in the core channel if I go to make moves on that.
Okay. Someone added a broken build on macOS SDK 15.4.
Yeah, I added that, and I saw Zach already had an issue on that. I just updated my SDK. I think it's just zlib now that's an issue, and I think updating to 1.3.1 would fix it. I'm wondering if anyone has taken a deeper look at it. And I think updating zlib to 1.3.1 seems okay. Just, run through those library script and update the submodule hash and commit it. Is that it? I haven't done the library updates in a while.
Yeah, zlib should be one of the easiest one. You shouldn't need, or maybe it does have a configure file, but it shouldn't be like the other libraries. You would need to run the configure file, control what has changed between all the options, etc. But zlib is a bit more straightforward.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try and get that done and unblock everyone if anyone is blocked by that.
Thank you. Thank you. Curl headers PR.
Yeah, so I don't know if folks saw this and are familiar with the background really, but someone wants to add control over like arbitrary headers in the HTTP requests made by the curl table, which seems to make sense in a way, except if you know the background of the history of this sort of like server-side request forgery. I don't know if that's exactly what you would call it, but essentially the ability to like use Osquery as a vector to like extract keys or make requests from privileged contexts using the machines that the agent's on. Then there's the concerns here as documented in like issue 6574. So I guess I'm wondering, my inclination is probably to like, if this person doesn't reply, then just close out the PR. That's easy. If this person does reply with a specific use case, see if we can find a way to accommodate that use case without adding this functionality to the curl table. And otherwise suggest that maybe they build an extension table that does this because we don't want to like build in the potential to have these kind of attacks like by default. Osquery. I guess I wonder if folks like agree with that or have other thoughts or
My inclination is that we would probably never accept the curl table if it showed up today.
Hindsight 2020 on that one.
And if I extrapolate that, I think we should be incredibly cautious about adding headers here. Like I sort of appreciate why, and maybe the stance that if you have remote access to the Osquery interfaces, you probably have some kind of remote root on the devices anyhow. So it feels a little weird, but it feels a little bit like, we've always wanted to not modify the systems and kind of try and be read-only and not exec things, and like feel like going further down the curl path and being like, sure, now you can call the AWS APIs via the localhost interface. All feels a little weird to me. So I kind of you know, if the world was a different place, it would be interesting if we could say, well, this would work, and we'll always add a like X precedence bulk header or something, right? Or like, you know, but there's nothing like that. So I think my default is to say no, but I'm probably willing to be convinced.
I think it sounds like you're on the, what you and I are on the same page in terms of saying no. I'm just trying to like, I'm trying to say no while engaging this community member and trying to help them find a way to address their issue.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Anyone else have other thoughts? What want to advocate for the other direction? No. Okay. All right. Cool. So I'll just try to keep an eye out for their reply and see. We'll those of us here listening know that we value this person's interest and contribution, and we more than likely intend to close this PR, but we'll try to engage with them first.
One question is why do, like, if I'm worried about security or abuse, I would just disable the whole table, right? As a customer or user. So I mean, in that scenario, then if you know we allow headers, it shouldn't affect security, right? I mean, having the curl table already is you can abuse with a curl table, you know, itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, Lucas, and I wonder if we should consider like disabling the curl table by default or something like that, or allowing this person to add this functionality if they put it behind a flag, so that you specifically have to enable the headers for the curl table.
I think it'd be interesting to see what they come back with as use cases, because from the rest of this person's GitHub, they're a bit of a pen tester or somewhere along that profile, which makes it sound like the use case is a little bit closer to living off the land than it is, you know, something else.
Okay, interesting. I didn't investigate their profile, but that's an interesting observation.
At least I
The
think
other person, the M.R. Kenton, seemed like they were interested in the GCP, like instance metadata or something.
Yeah, I forget why we need
Well, that was Fritz's original thing in 2020.
I feel like for the GCP thing, we really should have just built a GCP metadata table, like we have an AWS metadata table.
For sure. I mean, someone should build that if they want to.
Yes, the demand has been overwhelming. Yeah, so I still feel very, very skeptical on the curl table. I mean, Lucas, you're right. Like enabling it's already dicey, but I kind of don't know how to evaluate the addition of headers to it. So like having a flag and saying, look, if you want to enable this, okay, could be an interesting thing, but I think I'd want to understand the use case. And it's like, you know, again, we know Okta's in the process of deploying Osquery. So like if Okta shows up and said, hey, we really want this, it would help us, then maybe Okta could be like, oh, well, let's put it behind a flag. You can decide that for your customer base.
Yeah, makes sense. I agree.
Yeah, I just don't know. It feels like a slippery slope, and I can't think that hard.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, though, Lucas. It does kind of make me rethink. Like there might be some other possibilities here, like adding the functionality but disabling the table by default, or making the functionality behind a flag or something. But I do think that we should see what the person says. If it turns out it is just like GCP instance metadata, it's like, well, like we'll happily accept that PR. So I guess let's see.
I wonder if we'd consider disabling the curl table. Like you flagged that, but like, should we actually do it?
Yeah, I mean,
What's the pain?
I do think that we might it could make sense to just disable the curl table by default. And for people who want it, they can just enable a flag for it. And the flag can just say, you know, heads up, this has been used for attacks in the past. Like, make sure you're considering your threat model if you enable this.
I don't know.
Why is it called curl? It doesn't use curl.
I think at the time Osquery was written, a lot of people used curl as sort of a generic WebGit thing, like PowerShell ships a curl, which is not curl. If you
it's a HTTP request would probably be a fine name for it, but curl just turned into the name that people use for making HTTP requests. I think that's would be why.
I can create an issue to consider disabling curl by default, and then we can discuss it in the next call. Yep.
I feel like that's probably most impactful to like Fleet and Collide and other sorts of things like that. You know, I could certainly imagine if we adopted that, wanting to bubble up that option to our customers, and similar for you.
Yeah, for sure. And we expose all the Osquery like config flags to our customers, so I don't think it would be a problem for us. We would certainly want to be aware so we could message it to them in case anyone is using that, so they'd understand why their queries weren't failing or have a chance to look if they were going to have queries that were going to start failing. But I don't. Besides for that, I don't see issues.
Yeah, about the same here, really. And at a tangent, I would like to call your attention to Charvel's t-shirt.
Rip girl.
Well, we have an
Wow,
answer
that's
for
like
that now.
Poetry.
That is our agenda. Any other things people would like to talk about?
I sort of have a meta question. Just want to get some thoughts. I'll probably maybe start a thread in Slack later, but I'm reviewing a PR and I want to encourage new people to sort of join in, but it's also, there's a lot of code thrown over the wall, so to speak, and engaging with them is a little difficult. I want to encourage new people, but I also kind of want to minimize the maintenance burden that we have. Like, do people have any thoughts on it? And I would encourage people to like actually start a blueprint issue before just coding things. So
I'm guessing you're referring to like the endpoint security stuff.
yeah, and so ideally, my sort of framework has been either refactor in a PR or add new features. Don't do both in the same PR, which I think is a good standard that kind of work. It's a good kind of standard just to have, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely makes things easier to review. I mean, I guess I'd say like I support you. Are you looking for advice here?
So I want to be encouraging so that we get new contributors in, but I also don't want to just, there are some concerns that I wouldn't feel right if, the code was just merged as is right now.
Yeah. I think that my belief on this is just to try to be like persistently like optimistic and friendly with the people, like to throw in a thank you and an exclamation point like wherever you can, and but also be clear and firm about what's needed to get done and do those things together and just be very persistent about both, and just as well, like, try to just say some of those things that you're thinking as well. Like, I want to see this functionality get merged. I want to encourage you to contribute. This is what we need to see as a project in order to make that happen. Thank you! Exclamation point.
That's perfect. I think that's kind of what I had in mind as well.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing goes a long way, because I have had the experience, certainly, of interacting with open source projects where it's like you wonder, like, do you even want me contributing? Like, do you have any intention of actually merging this at some point, or are you just trying to wear me down so that I stop asking you to merge it? And so.
I think when I work with open source other open source projects, what's often very clear to me is that the thing I want them to do is not entirely what they want to do. So, I can give them code, but it's not the direction they want it to go in. And we see that sometimes in our project, right? And we've always ended up with long, hard conversations here in office hours about whether we might need to reject someone's contributions because it's not the direction we want to go in. So I think that kind of awareness is good, but I also think at least these endpoint security PRs are probably the direction we do want to go in. So that maybe helps a little bit.
Yes, I have similar feelings as well. I think that it's like, well, they want all this endpoint security functionality. I think we definitely want that.
We
too.
want them. Exactly.
We definitely want that. I think the thing that we're maybe not quite as aligned on, at least from the last time I checked in on this conversation, was they kind of wanted to just throw it all into one table. We don't really see that as the right approach. So I think I would also, if we have not stated that very, very clearly, though, like, we want this, like, we really do, we really want this, but the approach just doesn't quite fit how we do it. So let's make sure that there's an approach that works really well for you, contributor, who have clearly your own specific needs that you're trying to do, but also work well with the goals of the project, which we think definitely can be aligned. Just like making sure that that kind of stuff is all like laid out very, very clearly there, I think hopefully helps to motivate someone to see that, like, yes, these people want to work with me, want my contribution, and I just need to like collaborate with them to get there. I think
so. Actually, that raises a really interesting question to me. So I haven't been involved in this PR, right? But if they're pushing it all into one table, and we kind of feel like that smells wrong, that doesn't fit how we think of our Osquery is working, that's like an ideological disagreement. And I find those are very hard to fix in text, right? So I don't know if this person is engaged enough to come to office hours, if someone wants to try and have a conversation with them, or if they've just kind of gone dark.
I think there's also like the feedback loop is longer. Like I've kind of pinged them about office hours, but yeah, maybe it's worth a try again.
I'm just like, why one table versus many tables is, I feel like, very hard to get in text, right? Because someone they may be like, well, this is simpler code, and I don't appreciate whatever your view for structured data looks like. So that may be hard to overcome. I don't know how to solve that.
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be that they were just like, this is the easiest way to get all the data that I need. Just throw it all into one table, like, done. And it's like, well, yeah, it might be the easiest way to get the data, but it's not the easiest way for people to understand the data if they want to use it, probably.
And there's also a lot of duplicated functionality with regards to like PID and PID versions and parent PIDs and
And at some point, and thank you. I think that you're saying that, Seth. Thank you, Charvel, for doing the work to engage with this person. And certainly, I at times have just been like, wow, I wish that this were easier, but in the interest of like seeing a community member be successful, I'm just going to do the painful work of reviewing like a refactoring and new functionality in the same PR, even though I wish that it weren't like that.
But yeah, huge thank you for engaging and reviewing, and there's a lot, so thank you. I think I don't have anything to say other than agreement and proceed as you will. Anyone want to talk about anything else? If not, maybe we end it and regain 21 minutes. Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I will stop the recording. I don't know if folks know that that needs to be done.